Video 22, Math Lesson 4.3, Finding Distances on a Map. For this lesson, you will need your student reference book and a ruler. The ruler that is on your math template will work just fine. That should be in the back pocket of your student reference book. So pause this video and grab your student reference book. Open your student reference book to page 381. I just want you to take a look at this map picture just so that we can talk about some of the features on a map that we're going to be using. Pretty much every map has a map legend or a map key. For example, this map here has this key here that explains what the different colors stand for on the map. Maps also have a direction symbol called a compass rose. They need to tell us which way is north. And another thing that maps have is a map scale. The map scale compares distances on the map with real distances. Now you might notice here on this map there are actually 3 map scales. The reason for that is because here we have some inset maps. Those are other maps that are placed along with the large map. They can't show us Alaska and Hawaii where they actually are located because they wouldn't fit on the page here. So Alaska has its map scale, Hawaii has its map scale, and the continental US has its map scale right here. If you want to be able to read a map correctly, it's really important that first you locate the information in the map legend and you figure out what it means. You also want to make sure you know which way is north. And if you're concerned about figuring out the distances on the map, you should study the map scale. Now in this lesson, the map scale is what we are going to be focusing on. I would like you now to turn your student reference book to page 211 and follow along as I read at the top of the page. Map scales and distances. Map scales. Map makers show large areas of land and water on small pieces of paper. Places that are actually thousands of miles apart may be only inches apart on a map. When you use a map, you can estimate real distances by using a map scale. Different maps use different scales. On one map, 1 inch may represent 10 miles in the real world. On another map, 1 inch may represent 100 miles. On this map scale, the bar is 2 inches long. 2 inches on the map represent 2,000 real miles. 1 inch on the map represents 1,000 real miles. You may see a map scale written as 2 inches equals 2,000 miles. This statement is not mathematically correct because 2 inches is not equal to 2,000 miles. What is meant is that a 2-inch distance on the map represents 2,000 miles in the real world. It's really important anytime you take a look at a map scale to figure out what is the distance on the map, like 1 inch or 2 inches or a centimeter, and how many real-world miles is represented by that. Measuring distances on a map. There are many ways to measure distances on a map. Here are several. Use a ruler. This is the main way that we are going to measure distances on a map. Sometimes the distance you want to measure is along a straight line. Measure the straight line distance with a ruler. Then use the map scale to change the map distance to the real distance. For example, use this map and scale to find the air distance from Denver to Chicago. That air distance is the straight line distance between the two cities. Okay, let's take a look at our scale. We've got 1 inch represents 300 miles, 2 inches represents 600 miles. Now if we measure with the ruler, go ahead and take your ruler and measure it. You'll see that the line segment connecting Denver and Chicago is 3 inches long. Now the map scale shows that 1 inch represents 300 miles. So 3 inches must represent 3 times 300 miles, or in other words, 900 miles. The air distance from Denver to Chicago then is 900 miles. If you're interested in learning more ways to measure distances on a map, turn to page 212 in the student reference book. It shows you some other creative ways that you can figure out map distances. When you do your journal exploration work, I would like you to use a ruler if it's at all possible.